Hello, back again, and nice and rested after a tumultuous morning yesterday going to record store day. The first time I'd ever done it before, and it was quite fun getting up at the crack of dawn, cycling all the way across London from southeast London to southwest London. Took a while and it was pretty cold and grey and miserable, but managed to get some nice things, so it was great. So yeah, I cycled over quite early in the morning to Putney, to Soul Brother Records, and I was hoping that there wouldn't be too many people when I got there, but it turns out there was a long line of middle-aged blokes, as you can expect, and so I, another middle-aged bloke, joined the queue and waited for quite a while, but it was fun talking to some of the other people, seeing what they wanted. I was next to a very avid Kylie Minogue fan, curiously enough. But no, I had some ideas about what I wanted. There was too much, really. I mean, I couldn't have everything. So I got some stuff and I'm pretty pleased with it. So I think I'll show it off. First thing I got was a nice little 7-inch by Robert Parker, Caught You in a Lie. The original version famously covered by Louisa Marks, did the reggae version, but this is the original. Lovely, lovely tune. So really nice to have that on a little 7-inch. So that was goody. And one of the reasons then I went to Soul Brother Records was because they, on their label, have re-released this album by a group called Gaston, which is a really interesting album. And they're a pretty interesting group, I have to say. They went through various, well, they have various guises. Gaston, they did a couple of albums. And then they did, I think they had a couple of other names, this group. Most amusingly, the Pied Piper of Funkington was one of their names, and they released a really good album under that name. But this is brilliant stuff from 1978, this album originally. It's funky, it's groovy, it's got everything going on here. I think probably the most famous song here is Clap Song, which is just a long sort of 10-minute funky disco jam, which normally I'm a bit like, oh gosh, stop it. But actually this one's really, really, really good, and I really recommend it. And there's just some other nice songs on here which I think really, really work. And it's a nice sounding copy, great bassy sound, which is the kind of thing that I love. And as it tells me, the original album sells for hundreds of pounds and is very scarce. So it has been re-released here for only 1,500 copies. So I was really keen to get this, and that's why I went over so early. Turns out it seems to be available all over the place now, online and everything, so maybe I didn't have to get up so early, but worth having, and I'd recommend that one. So yeah, there were lots of other interesting looking albums. I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting the Magnum Fully Loaded album, as I've seen a few people showing it off. And those Brazilian 7-inches, they all sounded quite nice, although it was going to get really expensive. And bearing in mind that this is apparently just the first of 3. They're doing this whole thing again in September and then again in October, so I don't want to get too carried away. But I did get another album, which was this one, by Timeless Legend, sort of vocal harmony affair from 1976, I think, though it does have an extra track from a bit later, from 1980, I think. This has been re-released by Expansion, again a limited re-release, but a really nice album. It took me a few plays to really start digging it, but it's got some really great stuff on here. There's some slightly more disco-y stuff, some really funky stuff, and some typical harmony stuff. And they were a pretty solid group, I think. You can just, perhaps the cheapo art cover, I don't know, you can see they were a great group who just never quite made it. So obviously very sought after. I think this is from Ohio or somewhere like that, where they were from, so it's a very sought after album from around there, and well, for everybody who knows about it. I didn't know about it until yesterday or a few days before, but I was really pleased to get this. And with any of these sorts of albums, I always find a good sign of quality is if all the artists, all the members of the group list their star sign, and they've done that here, so that's quite reassuring. Yeah, we got good range. So yeah, nice album. That was my record store day adventure. Would I do it again? Perhaps, but you can see it's addictive. And could be very expensive, but hey, we've got enough. Next month we'll have the chance to try it again, so see how it is. Anyway, I've got some other stuff to show, which I've been really enjoying. So let's start with this one. This is a reissue of an album that came out in 2013, but I didn't know about it until fairly recently. And I'm just trying to see if I can, it doesn't say when the original album was released, sometime in the 70s. Shirley Nanette, Never Coming Back. This has probably been my album of the year for me, although it wasn't released this year. It is absolutely spectacular. It is the exact style, sort of soul album that I love. It's very melancholic, borderline kind of depressive, but it's really, really beautiful. It's funky when it needs to be. She has a wonderful voice with that. It's got kind of echo. They've recorded it in a kind of echoey way, which I just love. Lots of great soul, female soul singers who they record in this certain way, and I love it. And this is brilliant. I mean, All of Your Life is perhaps the most famous track of this album. Really funky jam, but there's some other really, really wonderful stuff on this. Going through, I mean, a lot of soul albums, you know, there's some really great songs in them, but maybe there's one or two which you can kind of do without. This is one of those albums where everything works together and the whole thing is a treat from start to finish. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I think I've said that about 3 times now, but definitely my favourite album that I've listened to lately. Yeah, she was a singer from somewhere in the West Coast, I think, Oregon or somewhere like that, in the United States. Although the label it was recorded on, I think it's saying here, was from Texas. I don't know, I'm not very good at doing this. I'm sure some more research could be done, but what an amazing album. Lovely. Okay, a few more things to babble about. Some cheapies that I picked up. Stonking Disco album, which I didn't know about, but it was sort of just a bit more, it's usually a bit more expensive than I'd really want to pay for it. But I saw it very cheaply priced because one of the tracks is scratched. But I got it more for anything than for the cover, because this is Warriors by Rinder and Lewis, who were a disco duo who did some really interesting stuff. Again, like the Gaston, they went under different guises. They made El Coco and Le Pamplemousse. That was these guys, well, not these guys, but Rinder and Lewis. And that's the really funky disco end. This one is slightly more sort of synthy, Giorgio Moroder style, but it's got some great stuff. I love the opening track, Willie and the Hand Jive. Yeah, great stuff. I don't know if it's an album I'd listen to it an awful lot, but it's a very amusing cover, if anything. Apparently these are their dads, so there you go. This is a nice one as well, 60s pop from the Fifth Dimension, famous for the Age of Aquarius. I think that was them, wasn't it? And this is actually a really great album. There's a couple of songs which I could probably do without, but it's got some really nice soulful numbers on here, particularly the title track, Love's Lines, Angles and Rhymes, which is very much in the Rotary Connection style, just without Minnie Riperton. But yeah, beautiful song. And there's some other really good stuff on here as well. It's really nice. And this is a nice cheap record to get. You can get that for certainly under a tenner. Lovely stuff. And I think somebody was showing Linda Lewis the other day. Here she is again. Another lovely record that you can get for a £5. The highlight for me on this album is I Do My Best to Impress. Wonderful, really jazzy song, which goes off into some nice little instrumental bits at the end. Really, really lovely. And it's a real mixed bag. She does all sorts of stuff on this record. And yeah, she's a great artist because her records aren't expensive, but there's always good stuff to be found. So I'd recommend that one definitely, even if it's just for that track. I Do My Best to Impress. So, lovely stuff. Hope everybody's well.
Taking you for granted, baby, is something that I seldom do. But one day I decided to mess around just to see what I could do. Now, but I had my stuff uptight. She found out the very next day. She told me that I wasn't right. Now she's gonna go and leave. Oh. There's very little.
I do my best to impress. Promise the best for the test. I think I'm losing my quest, but I must confess I couldn't care less for the rest. From one to nine of a life, look left and right by the side. I might be getting uptight, but I wouldn't bite, not if you invite me wrong, alright. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a dream world. So many things that I don't understand. Sometimes I feel like a lonely stranger, far from home in a distant land. Sometimes it feels like the time is passing faster. Sometimes it feels like it's moving so slow. Sometimes I feel that I've got it all together. Then again, sometimes I really don't know.